Yamada is a boring, useless student who is hated by everyone around him, but one day he suddenly gets the power to switch bodies with anyone he kisses, and a whole bunch of hot girls enter his school life. A teacher slams his hand down and asks a student, Yamada, if he thinks school is some kind of joke, saying he comes to school late and leaves early every day. He's prone to fighting all over the place, and to top it all off, he was sleeping in class. Yamada sighs in exhaustion, so the teacher furiously asks why he has to do this. A girl named Shiraishi Urara brings the teacher a journal, so he annoyingly asks Yamada why he can't try to be more like her. Yamada annoyingly remarks that Shiraishi is a dull girl, and as he walks through the school halls, other students stay away from him, gossiping about how he looks really menacing and calling him the second-year problem child. Yamada remarks that this is really lame since he went out of his way to go to a high school where no one knows him, but this is working out the same as middle school. He sees Shiraishi in front of him and walks by her, but he accidentally stumbles and the two of them tumble down the stairs. Later, Yamada wakes up in the infirmary but notices that his hand looks weird. He hurriedly rushes to the mirror and shockingly sees that he's in Shiraishi's body. Freaking out, he wonders if this means she's in his body and hurriedly rushes through the school corridors, inwardly questioning what the heck she's thinking going back to class in this situation. He finally finds Shiraishi now in his body, calmly sitting in class and studying like nothing's wrong. The other students are confused, wondering what kind of drugs Yamada must have taken to be acting so weird. Yamada hurriedly drags Shiraishi outside and demands answers. She stays calm and guesses that their accident must have caused the body swap. She suggests they try falling down the stairs again to switch back. Yamada is ready to do it right away, but Shiraishi refuses, saying she doesn't want to pass out in this class. Even though she finds it uncomfortable, she insists they wait until after school. Now stuck in Shiraishi's body for the time being, Yamada sneaks into the men's bathroom to check himself out. Meanwhile, a group of thirsty guys flirts with him, but Yamada responds in a cute way. However, instead of being charmed, the guys are surprised by how different Shiraishi is acting because even creeps have a limit. As the day goes on, Yamada starts getting bored and impatient to switch back, but before he can revisit the staircase plan, a group of girls invites him to lunch. He accepts and to his surprise, finds that Shiraishi's lunchbox is filled with delicious food. As he enjoys the meal, the girls giggle, and one of them, Rin, jokingly tells him to get ready for class. While looking through Shiraishi's bag for a book, Yamada unexpectedly finds a notebook full of hateful messages directed at Shiraishi. Curious, he checks her locker and finds it stuffed with trash and even more insults, seeing which he realizes Shiraishi is being bullied. Feeling angry and sorry for her, Yamada later brings it up, but instead of being surprised, Shiraishi simply apologizes for making him experience what she goes through every day. Yamada realizes that Shiraishi is always alone, never seen with any friends. He asks her to hold off on switching back since he wants to teach the bullies a lesson. However, Shiraishi warns him to stay out of it. Meanwhile, Rin secretly watches their conversation. Later, she confronts Yamada, throws a bag at him, and mockingly insults Yamada, saying even he knows what would happen if he tried to lay a hand on a lady like he. Yamada angrily walks up to Rin, ready to punch her, but just as he swings, Shiraishi, still in Yamada's body, suddenly jumps in the way and gets hit instead. She dramatically whines about the pain, while Yamada sends Rin running in fear. Later, Yamada and Shiraishi return to the staircase to finally switch back. Before they do, Shiraishi unexpectedly thanks him for standing up for her. They throw themselves down the stairs again, only to wake up in the same bodies. Frustrated, they try multiple times, but nothing works. Yamada alarmingly starts thinking he might be stuck like this forever, but Shiraishi suddenly remembers that the first time they fell, their lips had accidentally touched. She wonders if kissing might be the key to switching back and instantly kisses Yamada, after which they return to their original bodies. Flustered, Yamada slowly looks at Shiraishi, but she's completely unfazed and returns to her studies like nothing happened. The next day, they try kissing again out of curiosity, and they swap bodies once more, to their surprise. This time, Shiraishi stays calm and tells Yamada to keep their ability a secret. Yamada, on the other hand, can't stop wondering why she's so comfortable kissing him and inwardly questions if she actually has feelings for him. Using this ability, Shiraishi helps Yamada with his exams while Yamada, in her body, relaxes and enjoys eating good food. However, a white-haired student named Miyamura approaches Yamada and asks to talk in private. He mentions that Shiraishi was supposed to go on a date with him, which immediately makes Yamada start panicking. As they talk, Miyamura starts insulting Yamada's messy haircut, which really ticks him off. Before things can get worse, the group of guys who had flirted with Shiraishi before show up again. Just as Miyamura tries to pull Yamada aside, Yamada responds by kicking his teeth in and takes care of the other guys, but one of them bursts into tears, and it's revealed that this was all part of Miyamura's plan. Miyamura slowly smiles and reveals that he knows Yamada and Shiraishi have swapped bodies. He calls Shiraishi over and invites them to his supernatural club, offering them a private space where they can experiment with their body swapping ability. Then he suddenly suggests testing their method by kissing. He tries to kiss Shiraishi, but she refuses. So instead he turns to Yamada, but Yamada immediately rejects the idea. However, Shiraishi is intrigued, so she holds him still while Miyamura kisses him. To their shock, it works and Yamada swaps bodies with Miyamura. Realizing that Yamada can switch bodies with anyone by kissing them, Miyamura suggests bringing in more girls for him to test it on, but before Yamada can react, Shiraishi Shiraishi shuts the idea down right away. Yamada starts to suspect she might be jealous, but she insists she just wants to keep their ability a secret. With that, Miyamura announces that the Supernatural Studies Club will restart. Shiraishi will be the club president and he's the vice president, while Yamada holds no office. Yamada annoyingly asks what he means before a girl enters the room and asks if the Supernatural Studies Club has resumed activities before saying she would like to join as well. When no one answers, the girl repeats that she would like to join the Supernatural Studies Club. Yamada hurriedly asks Miyamura and Shiraishi what they're going to do. Miyamura whispers that their school has no system for rejecting new applicants, so they have no choice but to accept her. The girl asks what kind of research the Supernatural Studies Club is doing currently, so Yamada admits they only just started club activities. Miyamura adds that they don't really know anything about supernatural phenomena, so the girl, Miyabi, tells them to leave it to her if that's the case. She cheerily reveals that she can bend spoons. She tells them to look real close, but nothing happens, so she twists it with her hands. Next up, she shows them a miraculous photo that captures a UFO, but it's clearly fake since they can see the strings holding the UFO. Finally, she unveils a material stone passed down from the ancient Mesopotamian civilization, even though it looks like an ordinary rock to Yamada. She proudly says she showed it to them because they're special and offers to give them all a good long look at the rest of her collection next time. The girl, Miyabi Ito, happily says she'll head back to her classroom now since they're all going to be very busy from tomorrow. However, once she leaves, the other members start to panic since they don't actually have any activities planned, so they hurriedly decide to pretend to be a real club. Suddenly, Ito storms back in with cleaning supplies and orders Yamada to start scrubbing like a servant, and Miyamura convinces him to just go along with it. After finishing his chores, Yamada notices a school announcement saying he has to retake a test. He hurries back to the club room, where only Shiraishi is present, and asks her to switch bodies with him so she can take the test for him. She agrees, and just as they're about to kiss, Ito bursts in again, assigning him another chore. Frustrated, Yamada does what she says, but every time he tries to kiss Shiraishi and swap bodies, Ito interrupts with another task for him. This continues until the entire club room is spotless. As Ito prepares to give him another chore, Miyamura steps in at the last second and sends her off to the student council office to register the club. Miyamura assures Yamada that Ito will be gone for a while, so Yamada wastes no time kissing Shiraishi to swap bodies. However, Ito suddenly returns and reacts with shocks. She slowly starts crying and asks why they did this when none of them are interested in the supernatural before declaring that she'll make them all pay. The next day, Yamada arrives at school and shockingly sees an announcement on the bulletin board, revealing that he and Shiraishi kissed. Students start gossiping around and Ito declares that she'll get revenge on Yamada. Wanting to resolve things, Yamada invites Ito back to the club for a talk. She refuses and tries to leave, but Yamada blocks her path. He smilingly says she can go, but only if she kisses him. Before she can escape, he suddenly leans in and kisses her. The moment their lips meet, they switch bodies and Yamada instantly knocks Ito out to stop her from interfering. Now inside her body, he goes around telling people she made up the rumors about him and Shiraishi, and no one seems to be surprised by that. Later, he runs into Rin, the school bully, who casually tells him that no one actually believed Ito's rumors in the first place. Apparently, everyone sees her as a fool who makes up ridiculous stories about supernatural things. When he returns to where he left her, Yamada sees that Ito isn't there anymore. He worryingly asks Shiraishi and Miyamura for help finding her. They realize she must have jumped out the window, and as Yamada searches for clues, he hears from other students that Ito, while in Yamada's body, was dramatically talking to herself and making ridiculous poses. Miyamura suggests searching Ito's pockets for hints. Yamada hesitates, but Miyamura doesn't, digging around until he finds her phone. Inside, they discover a message demanding money, and they realize that Ito was scammed into buying the fake supernatural artifacts she had shown them earlier. Meanwhile, Ito, still in Yamada's body, is getting beaten up by scammers, ordering her to pay up. Yamada quickly arrives and gives the fraudsters back their fake items. They laugh at Ego, revealing that she bought the items because she wanted people to admire her hearing, which Yamada unexpectedly feels bad for her. The scammers try to take advantage of Ito's situation, but they don't realize Yamada is the one in control, and he starts beating them up. After switching back, Ito looks embarrassed and apologizes for spreading rumors and using Yamada's body to fight the scammers, which only got her beaten up. After sincerely apologizing, she thanks them and prepares to leave, but before she can, Yamada stops her and tells her that she's officially part of the supernatural club, and now hearing which Ito slowly starts crying. Excited to see the body swapping ability again, Ito pushes Yamada into kissing Shiraishi to make them swap. Seeing it happen with her own eyes, she gets excited and demands more experiments. She urges Yamada to kiss other people for research, but when he hesitates, she instantly kisses him, switching into Miyamura's body. Finally, Miyamura and Yamada kiss each other to see if they'll switch this time as well. Meanwhile, the student council is discussing the Supernatural Studies Club and sees that Miyamura, who's in the running to be council president next term, is the vice president. A secretary adds that it sounds as though the problem child from before, Yamada Ryu, has joined to hearing, which the student council president, Yamazaki, believes Miyamura must be looking after him for them, and tells a girl named Min that she can't let her guard down, so she says she knows and leaves. Outside, she tells a boy named Ushio that the president and the Miyamura siblings aside. She wonders why he's interested in the Supernatural Studies Club and declares that the next student council president won't be Miyamura, it'll be her. Inside, Yamazaki says he'll observe all promising potential student council presidents very carefully to see how they're going to deal with the next problem child who's not suited for their Suzaku High School. Ito angrily tells the Supernatural Studies Club members that the student council won't give them a club budget, the funds that allow them to perform their club activities, even though she's negotiated with the student council president repeatedly. He just goes off on unrelated tangents and never gets down to the issue at hand, no matter how long she waits. While eating a sandwich, Yamada asks if they actually need that sort of thing for the club, and Shiraishi admits it seems like things will work out for the most part if Yamada's around, so he annoyingly reminds her that he's not just some handy tool. Ito insists that they don't get it at all, explaining that they can make this place more like a clubroom if they have funds. Yamada mutters that it's pretty much fine the way it is now, and Miyamura adds that he likes things nice and simple, so Ito says that's because they're both filthy boys. She sighs, muttering that she thought she could finally turn this into an ideal clubroom, smilingly saying they could have tools and materials for research, a pot for drinking tea, a sofa, and even a TV. Miyamura and Shiraishi admit that does sound nice, but Yamada hurriedly gets up and enthusiastically asks if that means they could buy, since he wouldn't have to eat cold bread or lunchboxes at lunchtime anymore. Ito agrees, and Yamada immediately drags Miyamura with him to get them a budget from the council president. They barge into the student council office and demand an explanation from Yamazaki about why their club didn't receive a budget. However, Yamazaki completely ignores him. Miyamura explains that Yamazaki only likes women and has no interest in men at all. Hearing this, Yamada tries to intimidate Yamazaki, but it doesn't work and annoys him even more. Seeing that this isn't working, Yamada switches bodies with the girls so they can use their feminine charm to convince Yamazaki. Now in Shiraishi's body, with Miyamura and Ito also in female bodies, Yamada approaches Yamazaki again. They act as girly as possible, striking poses and trying to win him over. However, Yamazaki immediately sees through their act, pointing out that they still smell like men like a pervert. Still, this time he's willing to negotiate and tells them he'll grant their club a budget if they solve a problem for him. Finding out why Shiraishi refuses to continue her education even though she's the school's top student, Yamada tries to convince Shiraishi to go to college, but she refuses and apologizes, saying she can't help with the club's budget. Later, as they try to figure out what to do, Nin and her partner Oshio show up. Yamada recognizes Oshio, who immediately starts talking down on them, declaring that Nin will become the next council president instead of Miyamura. After they leave, Miyamura explains that Nin is his biggest rival for the student council presidency. If he fails to convince Shiraishi to attend college, his chances of winning the election will drop. Yamada and Ito suddenly realize that their fight to get Shiraishi into college is really for Miyamura's personal benefit. However, Miyamura argues that they have no choice, since Yamazaki is a manipulative schemer who will do whatever it takes to get what he wants, even if it means shutting down their club. Hearing this, Yamada grins, declaring that he won't hold back against them. The next day after class, Shiraishi pulls Yamada aside and asks him to kiss her so they can switch bodies, so Yamada instantly complies. Yamada suddenly realizes that Shiraishi wanted to swap bodies since she is sick, and now he has to deal with her symptoms. Miyamura sees this as a chance to play nurse, offering to take care of Yamada like he's some kind of medical expert. Ito suggests switching back, but Yamada refuses, realizing that if he stays sick, he can skip class. Taking advantage of the situation, Miyamura suggests that Yamada, now in Shiraishi's body, should go to her house and act like her. When they arrive, they're surprised to see that Shiraishi's home is surprisingly normal and start messing with her old photo albums. In one of the pictures, they notice a younger Shiraishi forcing a smile. As Miyamura and Ito joke around, Yamada kicks them out and continues investigating on his own. However, his sickness starts to take a toll, and he collapses onto her bed before falling asleep. While sleeping, Yamada keeps thinking about Shiraishi's fake smile. Suddenly, she bursts into the room, demanding an explanation before they start arguing about whether Yamada had an inappropriate dream about her. Frustrated, they kiss and switch back to normal. Shiraishi finally confesses that she doesn't want to go to college because she knows she'll end up alone, just like in high school, always studying with no one beside her. Hearing this, Yamada apologizes for sneaking into her room and leaves, letting her rest. However, moments later, he unexpectedly returns and brings a wet cloth for her forehead, revealing that he regretted going to this high school and thought it was a dull place, but lately, he started to think it might be a bit amusing. He wonders if college will be amusing too, but admits it doesn't really matter. As he's leaving, he notices a book on her shelf and stops. Yamada says he'll try setting his sights on college and suggests that she can go with him, so Shiraishi slowly gets up and smilingly agrees. Later in the student council room, Yamada Yamazaki is shocked to hear that Shiraishi is planning to go to college now and admits that's incredible. Ito takes out his sandwich from the microwave but notices that it looks off, so Miyamura points out that she overcooked it and asks where Yamada is, asking why he isn't here after they got the microwave he so dearly desired, but Yamada seems to be sick and weakly asks for the sandwich. Sitting in front of a row of buses, Yamada annoyingly sees that they're going on the school camping trip today and says this is a pain. Ito cheerily says she's surprised he's still going despite all this grumbling about it. Suki mutters that it's a bother, but he won't have to study. Ito sees that he just wants to boost his attendance and cheerily says she and Miyamura will come see him when they get time, even though they're in Class C. Miyamura tells him to play nice since he and Shiraishi are in the same class, but he annoyingly asks what that's supposed to. Shiraishi arrives and asks Yamada if he can spare a moment before silently walking away. Later in the bus, Shiraishi's friends offer her numerous different snacks, so she happily takes them, and Yamada, who is actually inside her body, remarks that she sure had a good idea since it looks like this will actually be fun now. The girl tells Shiraishi that she's really changed lately since she used to do nothing but study and didn't talk much. On top of that, she asked if Yamada could join their group. Surprise, Yamada turns around to see Shiraishi, inwardly admitting she has her good points, but he sees Shiraishi in his body. When they arrive, Yamada cheerily says this place is nicer than he thought it would be, but he sees that Shiraishi is looking totally spent. The other students cheerily suggest that all of them should go for a walk, so Yamada asks Shiraishi what she's going to do, but she weakly mutters that she still feels terrible and is going to go rest in his room. Later, Yamada finds her studying and she asks him to stay in her body a little longer. Taking full advantage, Yamada eats a ridiculous amount of food, stuffing himself until his stomach is bloated. Then the girls invite Shiraishi to take a bath with him, hearing which Yamada starts panicking. He hurriedly looks for Shiraishi, but when he doesn't find her, he ends up bathing with the girls. The girls say Shiraishi is adorable and start teasing her as Yamada inwardly begs them to stop. While they have fun, they say how happy they are that Shiraishi joined the trip since she usually avoids these kinds of events, surprising Yamada. Later, he finds Shiraishi and asks why she decided to come this time. Seeing how serious he is, Shiraishi admits that she always wanted to go on trips like this, but found it hard to connect with people. Hearing this, Yamada tells her he's had enough of hanging out with girls and kisses her to switch back. Once in his own body, he tells her to spend time with her friends. On his way to find food, he gets stopped by Nin, who shows him a picture of him searching through Shiraishi's bag in the girl's room. Yamada panics and tries to take her phone, but Nin smirks and threatens to spread the picture. However, she offers him a deal and says she'll delete it if he stops Shiraishi from taking her next exam. Later, Yamada tells Miyamura what happened, and Miyamura explains that Nin wants Shiraishi's grades to drop, so his chances of becoming student council president will suffer. He warns Yamada that even if he does what Nin asks, she'll probably keep the picture and use it against him again, so Yamada decides to kiss her and delete the picture himself. Later, Yamada takes Nin somewhere private and asks her to kiss him. At first, she's nervous, but then she suddenly gets confident and kisses him. However, nothing happens. Confused, Yamada wonders why his powers didn't activate, so Miyamura decides to test it by kissing him. But they don't switch bodies either. Ito tries next, but still nothing happens, seeing which Miyamura shockingly realizes that Yamada's powers have completely disappeared. The next day, during a barbecue, Shiraishi brings Yamada a plate of yakisoba that tastes terrible. While trying to force it down, Yamada tells Shiraishi about Nin's demand. To his surprise, Shiraishi doesn't mind skipping the exam and agrees right away. She thanks him for making the trip more enjoyable and says she wants to spend the summer with him and the club. Days later, Shiraishi doesn't show up for her exam, but Yamada is still anxious that Nin might not have deleted the picture. Back at the club, Iko and Miyamura suddenly start acting weirdly and even make Yamada food. Confused, he asks what's going on, and they declare that they've fallen for him. Yamada freaks out, but they conclude that while he lost his ability to switch bodies, he gained a new one. Anyone he kisses falls in love with him. To prove it, they keep trying to feed Yamada, overwhelming him, so he desperately kisses them both, and they immediately return to normal. Now back to themselves, Miyamura and Ito suggest that Yamada has developed an incredible ability. Yamada refuses immediately, but when they jokingly mention using it on Shiraishi, he suddenly gets excited and starts imagining her. However, he quickly gets serious and reveals that Shiraishi doesn't know his power has changed. He asks Miyamura and Ito to keep it a secret, afraid that Shiraishi might leave the club if she finds out she can't switch bodies with him anymore. However, upon opening the door, he's stunned to see Shiraishi outside. Shiraishi asks if there's something wrong and says she wants to switch bodies with Yamada, but he hurriedly asks her to wait a second since now is a bad time. Ito affirms this and says Yamada has something he must attend to, and Miyamura offers to kiss her if she wants it that badly. However, she flatly declares that that's not happening, so Yamada asks if she can wait a little longer. Shiraishi understands and says she doesn't mind switching at lunch break instead, so Yamada sighs in relief. He goes looking for Nin and asks her friends where she is, but they don't seem to know either. The council members inform him that Nin hasn't shown up and he isn't able to find her anywhere. However, he hears a group of students saying she will be delighted and stops them. However, upon seeing him, they immediately run away. Yamada chases after them, but notices a book they dropped titled Top Secret. He picks it up and flips through to see a list of grades, admitting that's a bit creepy. He suddenly notices though the students are running towards the old school building that's off limits. Shiraishi appears again, asking him to switch bodies. When Yamada refuses, she asks if he's tired of switching with her, looking disappointed. Meanwhile, Nin's followers return and report that Yamada took the ranking book. Nin reassures them that it's fine, calling them her precious followers. However, after they leave, she mutters that they're useless and instead praises Yamada for being more capable. Ushio disagrees, saying she never should have kissed Yamada and made him fall for her. Nin assumes he's just jealous, but starts wondering why Yamada hasn't come to see her yet, even though her powers were supposed to make him love her. After waiting all day, Nin becomes frustrated that Yamada still hasn't shown up. She begins to wonder if he might be immune to her charm with the power of anima. Suddenly, Ushio punches Yamada and angrily asks what he did to Odajiri Nin. Yamada slowly gets up, questioning what the hell he thinks he's doing, and rushes forward to punch him. A year ago, Yamada transferred to the school, hoping for a fresh start where no one knew him. However, his old friend Ushio was already there. Yamada tried making new friends, but their interests were either too serious or too weird, so he gave up. You realize Ushio was in the same situation. At first, they refused to acknowledge each other, but over time, they started hanging out again and became friends. Back in the present, Yamada is beating up Ushio. After getting punched, Ushio reveals that Nin has fallen for Yamada. Shiraishi quickly realizes what's happened before Ushio asks Yamada to kiss Nin again to break the spell, but Yamada refuses. He doesn't want to help Ushio after what happened between them in the past, so Ushio apologizes and promises to delete the blackmail photos, begging Yamada to bring Nin back to normal. However, Yamada doesn't care and walks away. Shiraishi steps in to help instead. She asks Yamada if he's really fine with Nin loving him. When he casually says yes, Shiraishi suddenly slaps him, telling him to stop being so stubborn and just help. After thinking about it, Yamada reluctantly agrees. Ushio then admits that he too fell under Nin's spell after kissing her, but he doesn't mind because he likes who he's become. A year ago, Yamada and Ushio saved a girl from a group of guys by fighting them. However, both Ushio and the girl blamed everything on Yamada getting him suspended. Since then, Yamada has had a reputation as a delinquent. After hearing this, the club members start crying. Later, Ushio brings Nin to see Yamada. She asks to speak with him alone, which Ushio doesn't like, but he steps aside. When they're alone, Nin confesses that her charm power make her feel happier and more confident, but now she's genuinely obsessed with Yamada. She begs him not to break the spell so she can keep loving him and feeling this way. However, Yamada kisses her anyway, canceling her power, and he coldly tells her that he will never love her. Later, Ushio gives Yamada a book titled The Seven Wonders of Suzaku High School and reveals that there are apparently students called witches at Suzaku High who possess mysterious powers. Ito sees that only 3 powers are mentioned and tells Ushio to hand over volume 2, but Nin appears, revealing that they weren't able to find it. Shiraishi realizes this means powers other than theirs do exist, and Ito cheerily says they have to look for them, but Yamada annoyingly tells her to spare him from getting involved in any trouble. Ito asks how they're supposed to look for them without him when he's their witch detector, since he's the one and only person the witch's powers don't work on. Yamada mutters that he's tired of getting dragged into all this stuff and starts walking away, but Shiraishi says that's all the more reason why they should look for them. She tells Yamada he changed her world and she's sure the same goes for Nin, so she believes the witches want him to find them. Eto and Miyamura teasingly ask if he's going to turn down Shiraishi as well, but Yamada blushingly says there doesn't seem to be any way around it since he was ordered by the club president herself. Nin declines joining the club since she doesn't want to get involved in their vulgar ways, and Ushio tells Yamada he has no intention of apologizing when they came to school to live this sort of school life in the first place, and Yamada smilingly admits that's true. During summer break, while everyone goes to the clubhouse and has fun at the beach, Miyamura and Ito wonder where Yamada is, so Shiraishi reveals that he's got supplementary exams and lessons. In the classroom, Yamada wearily remarks that he's sure everyone else is having a blast at the beach right now while he can't even watch anime because of summer school and the survival game is postponed too. He approaches 3 other students and sees that they're all the same ones that were here last year. He mutters that they're all boring as ever, and later, the teacher hands them back their exam sheets. She says they all failed and tells them to be sure to try their hardest tomorrow, so Yamada depressingly wonders what's going to happen to his summer vacation. He heads back to the club room to see that the other members are playing Jenga and questions what they're all doing. He asks where the second volume of the notebook is and if they just ignore the legend of the witches, remarking that it's great that they realized the supernatural studies club room was at the clubhouse and set themselves up to go on the summer retreat, but Shiraishi reveals that they can't actually get to the club room yet. Miyamura says the teacher with the key hasn't shown up yet by the sounds of it, so Yamada annoyingly declares that his summer retreat is turning out the worst way possible since his supplementary exams won't end and they can't find the second volume of the notebook, and he doesn't even get to see Shiraishi in her swimsuit. Shiraishi offers to switch bodies with him tomorrow, and the next day, Yamada happily has fun at the beach. Ada wonders why Shiraishi said she'd switch bodies with him, so Miyamura smilingly says that's because it's boring without him around. Meanwhile, in the classroom, the other students are shocked as Yamada Yamada, now Shiraishi, effortlessly answers every question like a genius and wonder what they should do. After class, the students decide to invite Yamada into their group. A girl named Atsuka, looking nervous, asks Yamada if he wants to be friends. Shiraishi agrees, but to her surprise, Atsuka suddenly kisses her as a way of celebrating their new friendship. However, their bodies don't switch, which is unusual. When Shiraishi returns to her real body, she tells the others that Atsuka might be a witch. After all, the kiss didn't trigger a body swap, and kissing someone out of nowhere seems like something a witch would do. Since they don't know what Atsuka's power is, they send Yamada to investigate during class. However, nothing happens, and Atsuka looks frustrated that her ability isn't working. Yamada tries to get her to explain, but she avoids him and runs away. Later, Nin and Oshio show up, and Nin reveals that the Book of Witches is locked in a special room, which will only open once everyone in the extra class passes their exam. Yamada remembers how confident Atsuka was before the test, leading him to believe that her power must be related to helping people pass. Shiraishi suggests that Yamada kiss Atsuka and activate her ability, and that night, Yamada takes a bath while still in Shiraishi's body so that Shiraishi, now in his body, can get closer to Atsuka and convince her to kiss Yamada. While he's bathing, Nin suddenly walks in, creating an awkward situation. She starts teasing him, but Yamada avoids her, acting in a way that makes her suspicious. She quickly realizes that Yamada and Shiraishi have switched bodies and starts panicking. Meanwhile, Shiraishi successfully flirts with Atsuka, making her want to kiss Yamada. Right before the kiss, Shiraishi switches back to her real body, allowing Yamada to take her place. He then kisses Atsuka, but nothing seems to happen. They decide to wait and see if anything changes. That night, Yamada suddenly starts hearing voices in his head and realizes that Atsuka's ability is telepathy. The next morning, Yamada meets Atsuka again. She acts shy and quiet, but he loudly hears her voice in his head. She teaches him how to use telepathy, but it's difficult since it requires a strong imagination. Just then, the other students arrive, and Yamada realizes they can use telepathy to pass answers to each other during the exam. The other students expect Yamada to provide all the answers, thinking he's a genius after his performance in class. However, since it was actually Shiraishi in his body, Yamada doesn't know the answers. Not sure what to do, he asks the others for help. Suddenly, Miyamura is able to use telepathy, explaining that Yamada just needs to imagine someone's face in order to communicate with them, and also offering to help during the test. During the exam, Yamada struggles because there isn't enough time to answer everything. However, he quickly comes up with a plan and tells Atsuka and the others to trust him. They follow his lead, and Yamada uses telepathy to help everyone, ensuring that they all pass, after which they're all let out of their classes. However, when they enter, they find that the room is completely empty and the Book of Witches is missing. The roomkeeper explains that other students have used the room before, so the book may have already been removed, but Nin and Miyamura suspect something is off, believing that the student council president might be involved in hiding the book. That night, Yamada and Shiraishi talk privately, and he shares his theory that the witches receive their powers based on their personal wishes. For example, Shiraishi's ability to switch bodies might come from her desire to experience life through someone else's eyes. Shiraishi agrees with his idea, and Yamada wonders what his own wish was that granted him the power to copy abilities. He decides to keep searching for answers and track down the remaining witches. Shiraishi fully supports him, and just as they are about to kiss, the others suddenly interrupt them. Yamada excitedly says he has some incredible news Atsuka gave him, and reveals that he knows who the next witch is before the fireworks suddenly shoot up into the sky. Shiraishi is standing in front of the school burning in shock as it's revealed that 1 week after the summer retreat in the very middle of summer vacation, an outrageous incident has occurred. Yamada and Miyamura are standing in front of Sarashima's place as Miyamura reveals that he's come here a few times with the guys from the student council, but he's never seen her face. He explains that she's such an intense shut and that they don't even know what to do with her, which is most likely due to a witch's power. Apparently, Ogadri's group is already collecting information on Sarashima, so Yamada hurriedly asks what they're going to do since they might beat them. Miyamura asks him to calm down, but Yamada suddenly has an idea and climbs up his shoulder, declaring that they'll force their way in. Miyamura asks him to calm down before Sarashima unexpectedly appears behind them and cheerily asks what's up. She says she's got something she'd love for them to pitch in and help with. Inside, Yamada annoyingly asks why they have to rearrange her room for her while pushing a cupboard, so Miyamura says there's no way around it since, if this goes well, they might be able to get Sarashima to tell them about her power. Yamada tells him to help out too, if that's the case, so Miyamura gets up but starts messing around with her clothes. After they finish, they find Sarashima asleep on her couch, and Yamada angrily says he's getting out of here, questioning what part of this girl is a shut-in and what she could possibly be worried about enough to become a witch. Miyamura suggests that Yamada take this chance to kiss her, but just as he's about to, Sarashima suddenly wakes up, panicking and begging him to save her. Yamada tells Miyamura to leave him alone so she can explain. Sarashima then reveals that she has the ability to see the future. In one of her visions, the old school building is on fire, and everyone is accusing her of starting it because, of course, the first thing she did after leaving her house was set a building on fire. She also saw Yamada there being blamed alongside her. Due to this, she stopped going to school, hoping that avoiding Yamada might prevent the vision from happening. However, since he's here now, she realizes that fate is bringing them together no matter what. Yamada asks Sarashima to kiss him so he can see the future himself. She hesitates for a moment but then gives him a kiss, leaving Yamada so flustered that he's still thinking about it the next day. Later, Yamada shows Shiraishi a hand-drawn picture of himself and Sarashima standing in front of the burning building. Shiraishi figures that Yamada saw the vision from Miyamura's perspective after kissing him, meaning he could see himself in third person. Realizing this, Yamada tells Sarashima that there was another person in the vision, so Sarashima admits that she once kissed a male friend who might also be connected to the fire and reveals that the friend's name is Kentaro. Yamada goes looking for him and finds him at an arcade. Kentaro confesses that he has a crush on Shiraishi and asks Yamada to help him meet her so he can tell her how he feels. To thank him for his help, Kentaro takes Yamada to the old school building and starts cooking tempura, which makes Yamada realize that Kentaro might be the one responsible for the fire in the future. Later, Sarashima, Kentaro, and Yamada are at school when they realize that the fire is supposed to happen today. Knowing they don't have much time, Yamada quickly comes up with a plan. He meets with Kentaro, who thinks Shiraishi is about to reject him. Yamada suddenly asks Kentaro to kiss him, hoping to change the future. Kentaro refuses, saying he's not into kissing guys, so Yamada and Miyamura try to force him, but Kentaro easily overpowers them both. After failing, they return to the club room to figure out another plan. Yamada suggests that Shiraishi accept Kentaro's feelings so he doesn't go through with whatever leads to the fire, but Miyamura switches Yamada into Shiraishi's body. Now looking like Shiraishi, Yamada flirts with Kentaro and asks him on a date, hoping to distract him and change the future. Thinking they've fixed everything, Yamada is shocked when Sarashima calls to tell him that the vision has changed, but not in a good way. This time, Kentaro isn't causing the fire, but is watching it happen instead. Realizing they need a new plan, Miyamura suggests they use their last resort. Yamada, still in Shiraishi's body, tries to stall Kentaro's confession by charming him. However, Kentaro suddenly confesses his love to Shiraishi. However, the real Shiraishi suddenly arrives, kisses Yamada, and tells Kentaro that they are dating. Stunned, Kentaro runs off and locks himself inside the old school building. Shiraishi and Yamada hurry after him, and when Kentaro opens the door expecting to see Shiraishi, Yamada quickly rushes in and kisses him, successfully changing the future since Kentaro is no longer in the mood to cook tempura and the fire never happens. With everything settled, Kentaro learns the truth about the witches and asks to join their club. Meanwhile, Sarashima hugs Yamada, thanking him for helping her escape her predicted fate. Yamada asks why Shiraishi forced him to switch bodies, so she reveals that she was going to take his place and sacrifice herself. Later, Yamada angrily snatches Shiraishi's book from her hands and orders her to never do something like this again. Shiraishi gets up and smilingly agrees before running away, so he wonders why she looks so happy. Later at the club, Nain reveals that she's finally figured out what Sarashima's power is and asks the others if they're so surprised that they can't even ask her, but the boys notice that her shirt is unbuttoned. The next morning, a girl hears that the cultural festival is around the corner and wonders what she should do for fun. Yamazaki orders the Supernatural Studies Club to stop the first years from wreaking havoc and says they can have their own yakisoba bread stand at the cultural festival if they do that. Looking at the pictures of the students, Ito says they don't look like troublemakers, so Miyamura says they were apparently all originally popular and respected, and it's hard to believe students like that would suddenly start causing all this trouble. Thus, they deduce that it's because of the next witch, Takegawa no, the next witch. Miyamura says they've also identified that her power is the opposite of Sarashima's, since she can see people's pasts by kissing them. Ito cheerily, this is all going unusually well, but Yamada points out that Takegawa could have gotten hold of the students' past insecurities and be making them do all these awful things. Shiraishi asks why Yamazaki knows all this, so Nain reveals that witches are succeeded by others within the school, so it isn't that strange for the president to know about them, and Ushio adds that the president should have been in charge of the second volume of the notebook until just recently as well, but Takegawa must have stolen that as well. Yamada excitedly gets up, so Miyamura sees that by fulfilling this request, they'll get permission to hold a yakisoba bread stand and get their hands on the second notebook in the process. Yamada confronts Takegawa and her group, insisting on speaking with her alone. However, Takegawa acts clueless and pretends she doesn't know what he's talking about, but she starts teasing him, saying she likes older guys. Hearing this, Yamada asks her for a kiss so he can copy her powers, but she immediately turns him down, calling him a creep. Yamada embarrassingly vows to get his revenge and promises that he will kiss her no matter what. I can see why no one liked him before. Later, Yamada struggles to get close enough to kiss Takegawa. Frustrated, he tells her directly that he knows she's using witch powers, so she leads him into an empty room, shoves him down, and demands that he tell her everything he knows about witches. Just as she leans in for a kiss, Yamada gets a bad feeling and stops her, telling her to forget everything that just happened. The next day, Kentaro panics and calls Yamada and Miyamura to the club room. When they arrive, they find Ito crying because the entire club room has been wrecked and their witch book is missing. Meanwhile, Takegawa now has the book, and her lackeys are excited about the idea of becoming witches themselves. Yamada confronts Yamazaki, demanding an explanation, so he reveals that Takegawa's real goal is to eliminate all the current witches so her lackeys can replace them. Hearing this, Yamada warns the others that all the witches they know are in danger. After thinking it through, he comes up with a plan to trap Takegawa and her group. Later, they leave Shiraishi alone in the club room. One of Takegawa's guys sneaks in and kisses her, using their ability to switch bodies. Thinking they have won, the goons trap Shiraishi, only to realize too late that it's actually Yamada inside before he easily overpowers them and escapes. Now that they have the goons captured, Yamada and the others try to question them, but they refuse to talk, staying loyal to Takegawa. Yamada then says he'll use body swapping to take over their bodies and trick Takegawa. However, the plan fails immediately when Takegawa sees through their disguise right away, making Yamada's plan look ridiculous. Takegawa then offers to return the book if they give back her lackeys. Yamada refuses, saying that he wants her to stop going after witches, but Takegawa refuses to back down. After the failed negotiation, the club scolds Yamada for not just accepting the book. However, they're surprised to see how much Takegawa and her lackeys care for each other. Seeing this, Miyamura threatens to use Min's charm ability to make them turn against Takegawa. The men hurriedly beg him not to, promising that if they are released, they will convince Takegawa to stop hunting witches. The club agrees, and once they are free, Yamada talks to Takegawa in private. He tells her how reckless she is for encouraging her lackeys to cause chaos in order to take over the school, but Takegawa angrily yells at him to shut up and kisses him, forcing him to see her past. Yamada suddenly finds himself trapped in a memory, witnessing Takegawa's traumatic experience of being locked in a storage room for hours by her supposed friends. When he wakes up, he realizes that she can see people's most painful memories through dreams. However, Takegawa tells him those three have been through even worse since they really didn't cause those incidents and were just framed for them. Yamada inadvertently teases her, so she angrily tells him to not interfere with their plans again and starts to leave, but Yamada hurriedly stops her and says he's here because he wants to help her. Overwhelmed, Takegawa starts crying, admitting that she's trying to help them from the start, couldn't protect them. She slowly embraces Yamada and tearfully asks him to save them. As they walk back, the three students suddenly ambush Yamada, saying they don't need his help. However, Yamada dodges their attack and kicks one of them in the jaw, scolding them for their actions. He tells them that their reckless behavior is making things worse for Takegawa, so instead of being indecisive, they should properly support her. The next day, Takegawa clings to Yamada and refuses to let go, so Shiraishi explains that there might be a different ability lurking within Takegawa's power, since it touches the most delicate piece of the heart for both the one who is touched and the one who does the touching. Both parties transmit their feelings and are able to open their hearts to each other, so it's also that sort of power, which is why she's sure those two might be similar in some ways. During the cultural festival, the Supernatural Studies Club has opened a fortune-telling shop along with a yakisoba bread stand, and Ushio sees that the yakisoba bread is basically an add-on. Nin suggests that they try it and shoves him in. Yamada, wearing a weird mask and cape, welcomes him to the House of Fortunes and dramatically introduces himself as Dragon Dayama, the prophet of the universe. He begins by telling Ushio to close his eyes. That, using Sarashima's power, he kisses Ushio and predicts that Ushio will indirectly kiss Nin before kicking him out. Edo says using Sarashima's power was their last resort since Yamada's yakisoba bread wasn't selling, and proudly says she's the one who came up with it before Yamada's prediction for Ushio's future comes true. Later, Sarashima happily says she's glad her power was useful, and Yamada wearily admits they sold out their yakisoba bread thanks to her. She asks if this means she was able to pay him back some for the fire, but Yamada tells her to not worry because it wasn't so big a deal that she has to pay him back or anything. Sarashima reveals that she wants some advice and asks if there's any way she can erase her witch power on her own, explaining that she wants to fall in love, but she can't really fall in love with someone if she sees the future whenever she kisses them. Wanting to help, Yamada later meets a student named Tamaki Shinichi and asks if he can erase her witch's power. Tamaki says he can, but tells Yamada to follow him first. He explains that his ability lets him steal a witch's power, and he currently has someone else's ability. To show how it works, he kisses a random girl and then sneaks a look in her underclothes, so she slaps Yamada instead of him, bit of a handy trick. He explains that his stolen power makes him invisible to anyone he kisses, and he doesn't want to give it up. To test it, Tamaki kisses Yamada and walks away, assuming Yamada can't see him. However, Yamada sees him just fine. Realizing that Yamada is different, Tamaki finally agrees to erase Sarashima's power, but only if Yamada finds out who Yamazaki has chosen as the next student council president. Later, Yamada tries sneaking into the student council office to learn Yamazaki's successor, but gets caught. With no other options, he directly asks Yamazaki, but Yamazaki refuses to tell him. Yamada hurriedly plans to use Nin's charm power to make Yamazaki talk. However, just as he's about to kiss him, Yamazaki's assistant, Mikoto, suddenly attacks and knocks Yamada out. Yamada wakes up tied to a chair while Yamazaki interrogates him, and Mikoto starts breaking his fingers. But before things go too far, Yamada explains Sarashima's situation. To his surprise, Mikoto decides to help him and reveals that her original power, now in Tamaki's hands, was invisibility. Hearing Tamaki's name, Yamazaki makes Yamada a deal. If he can find the seventh and still unknown witch, Yamazaki will reveal his successor. Yamada agrees, and later, Tamaki tells him that he will erase Sarashima's power only after they find the seventh witch, and Sarashima is relieved to hear that. She kisses Yamada, allowing him to see a vision of the future where she loses her power and Tamaki becomes the next student council president. shocking Yamada, who immediately rushes to Miyamura, insisting they need to find this seventh witch as soon as possible. Seeing how panicked he is, Miyamura asks him what he saw. Yamada explains that in the future, Shiraishi becomes Tamaki's secretary and grows distant from him. Refusing to let that happen, Yamada admits that he loves Shiraishi and doesn't want to lose her. The next day, Yamada and his friends begin their search for the seventh witch, only looking at female students. After Yamada and Shiraishi leave, Miyamura bows and asks Ito and Kentaro to help in the fight for the presidency. Meanwhile, Tamaki seems calm, doing nothing, which makes Yamada suspicious. To test his theory, Yamada kisses the club members and realizes that Tamaki has already used his ability to make himself invisible to them. He has been sneaking into their club room, listening to their conversations and stealing their research. However, Yamada sees this as a chance to trick him. To carry out his plan, Yamada takes Shiraishi somewhere private and they get ready to kiss and swap bodies with each other. However, Yamada suddenly stops and asks if she's really okay with this, since they won't be able to return to their original bodies until the future changes after this, and if things don't go well, it could take them longer than 2 to 3 days. Shiraishi says she prepared herself for that ages ago, so he hurriedly warns her that at his place, his sister Tatsumi and his mom will meddle, but she can ignore them for the most part. Shiraishi says she'll deal with it, so he tells her that there's a box titled Confidential inside the closet. However, Shiraishi asks why they aren't doing it. Yamada nervously asks her to wait since there's still some stuff he wants to check, but she goes ahead and kisses him. When they switch bodies, Yamada hurriedly says he wasn't emotionally ready yet, but Shiraishi calmly says they should go back to the club room and walks away. Yamada stops her and reveals that in the future, Tamaki doesn't just become president, she becomes his secretary too. Shiraishi states that she can do her job as secretary during the leftover time from studying and club activities, but Yamada reveals that in the future he saw, she had the same look that she did when the first switched bodies. He declares that he doesn't want her to ever make that sort of face again, shocking Shiraishi, who mutters that it's no concern of his since she has no intention of going back to the way she was then, and asks him to be sure to change the future. The club members leave after Yamada and Shiraishi arrive. Miyamura admits he's been hiding something from them all and reveals that he has an older sister named Leona who attends Suzaku High School who should have information about the seventh witch. Ito asks why he kept something that important from them, but he tells them to come with him to his place. On their way, he reveals that she dropped out because of the seventh witch and they head to her room. Miyamura knocks on her door, saying there are some people here who want to talk to her. However, Leona throws a pair of scissors at them, so Miyamura and the others quickly lock Yamada inside the room with Leona alone. As Leona continues throwing scissors, Yamada hurriedly charges forward and kisses her. To get the information he needs, Yamada threatens to strip in public. However, Leona counters by starting to undress while inside Shiraishi's body, catching Yamada off guard and forcing him to surrender. Yamada explains that he needs to find the seventh witch to save the girl he loves. Leona finds him a bit pathetic, but also amusing, so she decides to help him. She warns him that the seventh witch is extremely dangerous and just learning her name will make him forget everything about witches, and that she was the only one who managed to escape this fate, as the rest of her club members lost all their memories of witches. Despite the risk, Yamada doesn't hesitate and believes that even if he forgets, he can learn about the witches again. He tells his friends that if he loses his memories, they need to bring him back to them and the club, since his old self won't be easy to convince. Shiraishi promises him that no matter what, they will get him back. Yamada learns the witch's name and tells Yamazaki that it's Rika, so Yamazaki confirms that he is correct and congratulates him, also informing him that Miyamura will be the next student council president. Before they part ways, Yamazaki tells Yamada to come to him if he ever finds himself in trouble, and later, Yamada kisses Shiraishi to return to his original body, but he immediately warns her to stay away from him since he is now in danger. Shiraishi, however, refuses to listen and keeps following him. Worried that she might also lose her memories, Yamada insists that she needs to stay away, but Shiraishi doesn't budge. When Yamada tries to walk away, he slips and falls on top of her. She gently touches his face and reminds him that she was the first girl he ever kissed before asking him to make her his first kiss again after he loses his memories. After Shiraishi leaves, Rika appears before Yamada and casually reveals embarrassing details about him. She then tells him to close his eyes and instantly casts her magic. Yamada insists that he still remembers, so Rika hands him a letter explaining that the memory loss will take effect within a day. The next morning, after sleeping through an entire school day, Yamada wakes up relieved, realizing that he still remembers everything. He excitedly rushes to the club room to tell everyone, only to discover that none of them remember him being part of the club. Bro really got his entire harem taken from him. He realizes the spell has backfired, erasing their memories of him instead. Yamazaki tells Yamada that he can't do anything to undo the spell, and that his friend's memories may never return. The next day, Yamada wanders around school alone until Tamaki approaches him, claiming that he is in the same situation. Tamaki asks Yamada to work with him, but Yamada refuses, so Tamaki chases him around, trying to convince him to help take down Yamazaki. He reveals that he had been eavesdropping when Yamada spoke with Rika and was affected affected by the spell as well. He mocks Yamada for being heartless, hearing which Yamada angrily slams his fists and depressingly admits that he doesn't know what to do. Suddenly, Shiraishi appears, surprising Yamada. She asks if he wants to join the club. Yamada initially declines, but when he sees her face again, he grabs her and asks her to be his girlfriend. However, Shiraishi turns him down, saying that she already likes someone else, shocking him. Instead of giving up, Yamada determinedly asks Ito who Shiraishi has feelings for, and she suggests that it might be Miyamura, since there was a time when he accidentally fell on Shiraishi while walking down the stairs. Yamada takes this as proof that memories can be restored and decides to make Shiraishi remember by confessing to her again. Unfortunately, when he tries to enter the student council office, he is thrown out. He desperately begs Yamazaki to help him, but Yamazaki tells him there is no way to reverse what happened and also reveals that all the previous witches have returned to the way they were before they met Yamada. Later, Min approaches Yamada and tries to make him her obedient servant. Tamaki advises Yamada to play along so he can steal her charm ability. That night, Yamada meets up with Min and kisses her, taking her power. However, just as he does, Shiraishi arrives and sees everything before silently walking away. Yamada immediately chases after her, insisting that she's got it wrong. Shiraishi states that what he does with others is none of her concern. Yamada decides to clear up this misunderstanding and to explain everything to her, but Shiraishi tearfully asks why she feels this way when she likes someone else and asks who in the world he is. After Yamada explains everything to Shiraishi, she tells Yamada he's a funny person, hearing which he realizes she's forgotten she's a witch as well. He says he'll prove it to her right now and asks her to kiss him. However, Shiraishi instantly pushes him away, saying she definitely can't do that. She says she still feels better and apologizes for earlier, explaining that everyone's been so busy that they haven't shown up to the club. Realizing this, Yamada knows he has to help them get their memories back quickly, since if this keeps up, everyone will end up separated and Shiraishi will get hurt even more. Tamaki asks if he shouldn't worry about himself a little more too, since from Shiraishi's point of view, he's a good-for-nothing man who confessed to her, was rejected, immediately kissed another girl, and pushed her to kiss him. Devastated, Yamada realizes he's right. The next day, he approaches Miyamura and quickly kisses him, making Miyamura instantly fall for him. Yamada asks if he can come to his house today, so Miyamura blushingly says he should have said that sooner and suggests that they can go somewhere even more private, exactly like how I behaved with my homie when he offers to pay for the food. To break the spell, Yamada hurriedly kisses him again, causing Miyamura to apologize since he's a bit tired right now. Tamaki appears and annoyingly tells Yamada to give up, but Yamada refuses, believing there has to be a way. Suddenly, Nin appears, kisses Yamada, and mutters that it's really weird how no one remembers him. When they realize Nin has regained her memories, they figure out that kissing a witch can bring lost memories back. Yamada thanks Nin for being the only one who remembers, which makes her think deeply. To test their theory, Nin kisses Ushio to break his love spell. However, even after the magic is gone, Ushio tells Nin that he still loves her and asks why she did it, so Nin admits she's decided to stop using her powers to manipulate others. Meanwhile, Yamada and Tamaki try to figure out a way to kiss Shiraishi without making it weird. Before they come up with a plan, Rika suddenly appears, saying she didn't know about this loophole and explains that if Yamada gathers all 7 witches, he can make any wish he wants. However, she refuses to let that happen and casts her spell on him again. Later, despite Rika's warning, Yamada tells Nin that he won't get her involved anymore and will figure things out by himself. Hearing this, Nin tries to confess her feelings for him, but Yamada tells her to wait until after he fixes everything. The next day, Nin still has her memories and Rika is upset, realizing that her magic only works once. Meanwhile, Yamazaki starts making his own plans to stop Yamada. Nin then says she has a faint memory of all 7 witches gathering for something important, but she can't remember what it was. They guess it was to restore memories through a wish, so Nin suggests they do it again. However, Yamazaki spreads a warning to the whole school, starting a rumor about a kiss bandit, a suspiciously good-looking guy running around kissing girls to make it harder for Yamada to bring the witches' memories back. Later, Shiraishi asks Yamada if he's the so-called kiss bandit. Yamada tries to explain himself, but she isn't convinced. As they walk home together, Shiraishi mentions that Miyamura is planning to leave the club. Yamada notices that she looks sad about being alone again, so he reassures her that everything will be okay. Before he leaves, Shiraishi suddenly tells Yamada that he can kiss her. He leans in, but right before it happens, Mikoto interrupts them, ruining the moment. Meanwhile, Name looks for the room where the witches last gathered, but Yamazaki ambushes her. He tells her he has an offer and shows her a picture of Yamada kissing Shiraishi and offers her a chance to use his power to make Yamada fall in love with her instead. Outside, Tamaki secretly watches their conversation. The next day, Tamaki confronts Nin about betraying them. However, Nin starts crying and tells him that she rejected Yamazaki's offer. She knows that Yamada will always love Shiraishi, not her, and she's come to accept it. Determined to restore everyone's memories, Yamada starts kissing witches, successfully bringing back 5 of them. Now only Shiraishi and Rika are left, but they're more worried about Rika. Nin reveals that, according to her research, Rika doesn't officially exist since she isn't in any school records, and no one remembers her, so they decide to focus on kissing Shiraishi first. Meanwhile, Yamazaki announces a ceremony, calling for all the witches to gather, but Nin encourages everyone to get all 7 witches together before before Yamazaki can. Suddenly, Rika appears before Nin and Tamaki, telling them to stop looking for her. She explains that her powers have completely erased her existence from people's memories. She also warns them that Yamazaki's ceremony is actually a trap to get rid of Yamada, since the student council sees him as a threat. Back at the club room, Yamada finally gets the chance to kiss Shiraishi and doesn't care that Edo is there. He just wants Shiraishi to remember. However, as he leans in, he realizes that it's not Shiraishi at all. It's Mikoto in Shiraishi's body. Yamada angrily barges into the student council room and asks Yamazaki what he did to Shiraishi. Yamazaki asks what he possibly means, so Yamada grabs him by the scruff, warning him that playing dumb won't do him any good since he can tell Shiraishi switched bodies with Asuka Mikoto. He furiously asks where Shiraishi is now that she's switched bodies with Mikoto, so Yamazaki reveals that she's been suspended since she was found kissing on school grounds. Right now, she should be at home, quietly reflecting on what she's done. He adds that only the student council can meet with a student once they've been suspended, so Yamada won't be able to meet her even if he goes. Yamada begs Miyamura to go with him to Mikoto's house since they won't let him inside unless he's with him. Miyamura says he's watching a movie, but Yamada insists that it doesn't matter and tells him to come with him. Leoma stops him from her room and asks him to tell her everything. After hearing the situation, she immediately starts mocking him. Yamada frustratingly worries about how helpless Shiraishi must feel, but Leona stays calm and tells him that bringing Shiraishi back right now won't change anything, so panicking is pointless. Leona adds that there's something odd with what he's told her before Nin and Tamaki arrive, saying they thought they'd get Leona to help them get through to Rika. Leona says this is perfect timing and says it's odd that Tamaki was invited to the ceremony since all that should be essential are the witches themselves. She suspects Yamazaki will force Tamaki to return his power to Mikoto, which makes them panic, but Leona tells them to calm down and focus on dealing with Rika first since she's still siding with Yamazaki. Later, Miyamura thanks Yamada for making his sister laugh, something she hasn't done in a long time. The next day, they confront Rika and ask about her relationship with Yamazaki. Rika proudly says she and Yamazaki are deeply in love and can't be separated, but Yamada immediately points out that Yamazaki made big decisions without telling her, meaning he doesn't actually trust her. At first, Rika gets angry, but she realizes Yamada is right and admits it hurts to be forgotten by everyone, with Yamazaki being the only one who still remembers her and the only friend she has left. Yamada reassures her that she's not alone anymore since she has him and the others now. Moved by his words, Rika agrees to help them, but only if Leona returns to school so Rika can erase her memories. Meanwhile, Leona calls Yamada to meet her, already knowing that Rika wants her back at school. She reveals that she used to be in the supernatural club with Yamazaki, but one day, Yamazaki sacrificed himself to Rika's powers, which erased all his memories of Leona. Without hesitation, Leona starts taking off her clothes, saying she's ready to go back to school and see Rika, but Yamada stops her, knowing she doesn't actually want to forget who Yamazaki used to be. Leona tells Yamada she can't stand seeing Yamazaki like this anymore and goes to Rika to ask her to erase her memory in exchange for Rika joining Yamada's ceremony. As Rika starts casting her spell, Leona says she feels bad for Rika's loneliness, which makes Rika angry. Before losing her memories, Leona visits Yamazaki one last time, hoping they'll meet again someday, and even though Yamazaki doesn't recognize her, a single tear rolls down his cheek, though he doesn't know why. The next day, the group tries to capture Mikoto but fails. However, Nain has a backup plan. They work together and manage to catch Mikoto and tie her up. Meanwhile, Yamada and Miyamura go to Mikoto's house to bring Shiraishi back. When Yamada finds Shiraishi, she looks ashamed, realizing that everything he told her was true. Yamada doesn't care and quickly comforts her. Later, they finally begin the witches' ceremony, but before they can continue, Yamazaki arrives. He doesn't come to fight and simply says he has no memory of why he became student council president. However, his emotions are still there, and he wants to remember. Because of this, he lets Yamada and the 7 witches continue the ceremony, so he witches form a circle with Yamada in the middle. Suddenly, time stops. Only Yamada and Rika can move, and Rika tells him to pray with all his heart to make his wish come true. Before making his wish, Yamada asks Rika if she's really happy being a witch, so she admits it's a heavy burden and warns him that whoever takes her place will end up just as lonely. Yamada makes his wish, so Rika kisses him, and the sky lights up as the witch's powers scatter into the air. The next day, everything goes back to normal, and everyone remembers Yamada again and greets him happily, which makes him emotional. They throw a party for him, but just as Yamada is about to speak, someone interrupts him, and even Yamazaki joins in, wanting to celebrate with them. Once everyone is gathered, Yamada finally tells them the truth. He didn't actually wish for their memories to return. Instead, he wished for the witch's powers to disappear forever. Everyone is shocked, but Yamada explains that it was for the best. The others agree, realizing that they'd rather live a normal and fun school life without their powers. As the party continues, Yamada and Shiraishi end up alone. Shiraishi apologizes for breaking her promise since she had sworn she would be the first person Yamada kissed, but she couldn't keep that promise. She also apologizes for rejecting him before, despite everything he did for her, and regrets making him feel like he had to use a fake love confession. Yamada insists it wasn't fake and confesses to her again. He remembers that she told him she liked someone, but she reveals that she was talking about him. She says she thought for sure that he'd realize it. Yamada admits he didn't, so Shiraishi says she has a request and asks if she can kiss him. Shocked, Yamada Yamada embarrassingly says there's a proper order to do these things, so she explains that she wants to make sure her powers have really disappeared and asks if he's curious too. Yamada agrees, so she slowly leans in, but they accidentally bump heads with each other. Kureishi sees that they didn't switch bodies after all and says they should head back to the club room now since everyone must be worried. Yamada lightly grabs her hand and asks if she just wanted to kiss, so she blushingly affirms this.